Hello, welcome back to the YouTube channel of Bethel Evangelical Free Church Hanley. I'm Pastor Charmley. This is another in this video series on Derbyshire churches, and this is the magnificent, genuine 14th century church of St Michael and All Angels, Hathersage. Hathersage is noted for many things, but most importantly, it's the burial place and probably the birthplace of Little John. Yes, that Little John, the right-hand man of none other than Robin Hood. Quite how much, of course, of the Robin Hood legend is based on truth, we don't know, like most legends. However, there is a kernel of truth to it. There seems generally to have been an outlaw called Robin Hood, and what was reputed to be Little John's grave at Hathersage, when investigated, was discovered to contain the skeleton of a man of significantly above average height. So was Little John baptized here? Did Little John go to the services here back in the day? Well, of course we don't know. But the church remains open today. Again, like all medieval parish churches, it shows a long history of adaptation, having been adapted first of all for Reformation services, and then later on adapted in the 19th century as it became fashionable to be a bit more quote-unquote medieval. And of course Little John and the legends of Robin Hood appealed very much to the Victorians. So as we look around, we'll see some of the interesting sights of this 14th century church and some of the features that mark it out from others. So join me on our little church tour. So here we are at the west end of St Michael's, Hathersage. See that we're typical 14th century English parish church. We've got two aisles, chancel. There is a tower at the west end behind us, and there is of course and there is in this case a spire as well. So it is your typical church. It's the sort of building that your Victorian architects come flocking to examine, and in some cases, of course, to, quite frankly, spoil. But there we are. There we are. And here we have the font. You can see it's got a Victorian cover, which has this pattern of feathers on it, and this is, of course, to represent St Michael the Archangel. The font itself is 14th century, and of a type that's quite common up here in the Peak District. We have an organ. We'll start off, in fact, in the north aisle and work our way around, and we begin with by the bookstall, with the war memorial, and you'll see there's a couple of crosses that have been taken from the war cemetery, as that of Lieutenant G.C. Hodgkinson, 8th York and Lancs Regiment, died of wounds 5th of July 1916, so junior officer. And the reality is that junior officers suffered the largest proportion of losses, not only the largest number, because there were more private soldiers than anybody else, but the largest proportionate losses are the junior officers, because every assault needs a junior officer to lead it. We've got quite a good bronze war memorial here with the names of the fallen, and then underneath there is the list of the names of the fallen in the Second World War. The First World War, it's overwhelmingly army. The Second World War, I can see Royal Navy, Royal Navy Volunteer Reserve, RAF, of course. Much more varied. I've got a number of Royal Navy, a number of naval people served in the Navy in the Second World War, which is interesting, of course, because this is not in any way a seaside. Here we have a couple of old chairs at the back. These carved chairs were used by Queen Victoria and the Prince Consort, that's Prince Albert, when they opened St George's Hall, Liverpool, after they were given to the church in recognition of the fact that all the stone for St George's Hall was quarried in the parish of Hathersage. The workmanship is Austrian, and so there we are. Queen Victoria and Prince Albert sat on these very chairs. Here we have fortitude and hope, your virtues, quite common theme for stained glass windows from Victorians. Number of brass models. Again, you notice the Victorians have taken all the plaster off the walls, which even with this quite light coloured stone, it's one of the reasons it's called the White Peak, it's still quite a gloomy interior as a result. Here we have George Henry Campbell of Brookfield Manor, Hathersage, third son of Charles Campbell of Norton Hall, born December the 12th, 1851, died December the 18th, 1903. We have here faith and charity, caritas, Christian love, and here we have brass, some full brass here, and we have a rubbing of another brass above it. And here we've got one of the great things about these brasses is you've got the ladies are always in their best dresses, but the men are almost always in armour, so we know far more about how medieval women dressed, in certainly the upper classes, than we ever did, than we do about how upper class men dress, because obviously they didn't wander around dressed in armour all the time, however these memorials depict them. And of course they're depicted this way because even if you never went out to fight, you were regarded as a warrior, a soldier. Now, who is this? Yes, this is Robert Eyre, who died in 1459. His wife Joan, who died in 1463. And the rubbing is of Ralph Eyre, and it's dated 1493. Here we have a memorial, a nice piece of mosaic to Arthur Lovell Campbell, fourth son of Charles Campbell of Norton Hall, died in America as a result of a fall. This is the North Aisle Chapel, built onto the end of the North Aisle. Be still. These side chapels are often used today for private work, private meditation and prayer, whereas you've got here's the chancel. We'll have a good look at the chancel. It's got a number of interesting things in it. And here we have a bit of window here. You'll notice here symbols from the Pilgrim's Progress. At the bottom you have Mount Sinai there, the hill difficulty, the Delectable Mountains, and of course Mount Zion, the destination. And it's a gift of her parents in memory of their beloved daughter Frida Isabel Rylet, B.A.F.L.A., who lost her life in Dinas Cromlech the 30th day of October 1949, so mountain climbing. And this is, I suppose, the Lady Chapel, which would explain the ladies there. Again, their virtues personified rather than saints. So you have gentleness, love, and patience. There's the Annunciation. And here we have St. Alban and St. Barbara. Looking west, we've got the illuminated bookstall at the back. Very sensible for a church like this that's kept open, that has this connection with Little John, that people are going to be interested in getting, say, the guidebook or other things. Oh, the lights are going down. There. I suppose the lights are triggered by people coming into the church, so let's see what we can do about them. Well, there we are, having got the lights back on again. They are triggered by movement of people coming into the church. They're on for about 10 minutes, and we've exceeded the 10 minutes to go back there. But here we have, again, a couple of brasses. One of them is the one that we saw the rubbing of back there. The other is other members of the Eyre family. The Eyres were a major local family, at least one branch of them at Hassop remained Roman Catholic at the Reformation, and so they there's a massive, great Roman Catholic chapel there at Hathersage, Roman Catholic Church. The actual main base of the family was at Padley. Now, Padley was almost completely destroyed after the Reformation. It was used as a secret Roman Catholic base, and it was raided by the authorities during a period of concern over Roman Catholic plots against the king. All that's left is the gatehouse, and that today is a Roman Catholic chapel, as it was when it was raided. You see, ahead of us we have more of the heirs. This is Arthur and Margaret Eyre of Padley. Padley doesn't have a church. The manor house only had a chapel, and so the Padleys were buried here in the church at Hathersage. You see there the sedilia. Typically sedilia, you've got 3 seats for the clergy officiating at Mass. We've got a medieval style altar here, stone altar, which one doesn't approve of. They're not Protestant at all, but it tells you something about the churchmanship here, I suppose. And here's the grandest of the Eyre tombs. This is just have a quick look at this, just make sure I have it correct in the guide. This is Robert and Elizabeth Eyre with their children, and you see there the children who are named John. I can't quite see what the second one is named. And I see Thomas there, and then we have here, this is the one that we saw the replica of in the aisle there, and of course the reason why it's a replica is that it's lying down like this on this fossiliferous limestone. And there we have the piscina. That's of course for washing the vessels after Mass. And then as we turn around, we can look all the way west, and we can see the Ringers Gallery at the back. That's quite a modern gallery, and it allows for things to be placed underneath it. As we proceed, you'll notice the pulpit has been replaced with a modernist one. This looks like 1960s, 1970s, I think, did that kind of thing, which is open at the bottom. Not sure. And there we've got even more modern. You've got the ramp and handrail for people with mobility issues getting up to the communion rail here, which again is modernist stuff. The organ, double manual, pedal board. See if we can find a maker's name on it somewhere. So it can be quite interesting to know where these organs come from. This is Henry Groves of Nottingham, so it's a Groves of Nottingham organ. And you have our aisles with our nice octagonal piers in there. And you can see that the north aisle is leaning outwards. This is not unusual in these cases, of course. It is quite secure. You see there where the roof pitch was at one point lower than it is today. Normally today you see it the other way around. But clearly what happened, the Victorians decided we want a more 14th century style roof pitch. And you see there's a display on the history on this board here. And you have a memorial to the village doctor, as was. And little picture here shows you the dates. That most of it is that the lay chapels are written in the Eyre Chantry. That makes sense. That the east end was replaced, the very east wall replaced, 1851 by Butterfield. And then you've got the eldest parts, 30 and 80 nave and north aisle, and then the south aisle is a bit later. So there we are. That's the inside of the church here. Some of the items here actually come from the demolished church of St James and St John in the Derwent Valley, which was pulled down when the reservoirs were made. You can see here, here's a picture of the church as it would have been before the Victorians. See all those lovely box pews, and then the Victorians put in a great stone pulpit, which does appear to have been removed, which has definitely been removed, which at least is a good thing. So that's the inside of the building, and we shall proceed back towards the font, and then we shall go outside. So here we are outside at Hathersage, and you can see immediately the magnificence of the later parts, the 15th century clerestory and the 15th century aisle here. You've got here the Victorian organ chamber vestry and the medieval chancel with its Victorian east end. So it's a magnificent building. It's a very handsome example of the kind of parish church the Victorians loved, even with these 15th century additions that Victorians were not very keen on. And so it's been little altered externally, except to try to bring back something of what it would have been like originally. Well, we'll have a look around the outside, and of course we shall make sure we see Little John's grave, because that is the great claim to fame here at Hathersage. Little John is buried here. Also, here we are outside at Hathersage, and we'll just adjust the camera on its tripod. There we are, and look up at the spire, which is has little crockets on it. That's what those little sticky out bits are called, technically crockets. And it's just a way of ornamenting it to make it a bit more grand and impressive, which is, again, a very good idea. The bell room, which is the basic church hall, and as we come along here we head towards Little John's grave. Notice the topiary, very not quite sure why there's what looks like a parking meter here. Oh no, it's a donations box, that explains that. But this is Little John's grave. You can see here the length of it reflects the actual size of the man buried there, and it says the care of this grave was undertaken by the Ancient Order of Foresters Friendly Society, June the 24th, 1929. Of course, makes sense. Little John, Foresters, Sherwood Forest. So Little John is buried here. That's the tradition, and you can see from the size of the grave that it is a grave that is significantly larger than that of, it's significantly more, shall we say, than 6 foot tall. It's a bit over 7 foot. There's the porch adorned with coats of arms, and you can see a couple of gargoyles there. Gargoyles, we said before, as the ones of the tower, are decorated water spouts. So if you've got these things sticking off the side of a church, but they're not decorated water spouts, they are not gargoyles, they are called technically grotesques, however grotesque or otherwise they happen to be. But this chap here is a gargoyle. Look at him, you see his open mouth, and he's later been replaced by the modern lead spout. There's the, we walk back along the graveyard back towards the lich gate. Lich being, of course, an old English word for corpse. You'll see also here the base of the churchyard cross. And there, it's useful, isn't it? You hide your floodlights inside your topiary. So the churchyard cross. We're up in the high peak here, and you can see over there the hills towering over you. And of course, by that familiar trick of our perceptions, they look even bigger and more towering when you're here in person. There's Butterfield's east wall, replacing the previous east wall, which had become ruinous and unsafe, and so had to be taken down. Looks like some of it ended up over there, because that's clearly old medieval stone. And I suspect that there has to be stone from the demolition. All these graves, there's the old vicarage over there, that's now a private house. A new vicarage has been built on part of the grounds. And that's the north side with its aisle, and again you've got that row of gargoyles, rather good gargoyles here. One does like gargoyles. And there you see again this beautiful view from up here. It's a hilltop church. The town, and Hathersage is a small town now. The town is down in the valley, and up on the hill there's a few houses, and there is the church. How much it has changed since the days of Little John, and yet the church is still here, and his grave, whoever he was, I mean, what was Little John really like? We don't know. We have the myths, we have the legends, that strong man who met Robin Hood crossing a river, but beyond that we don't know. Well, I'll say a few closing words to camera, and then it'll be the end of the video. Well, so here we are, Hathersage. Yes, that is the time. That's 2:15 in the afternoon. Hathersage, burial place of Little John. Glorious 14th century church. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I certainly enjoyed making it. I enjoyed coming here. It's a marvellous place. I've been here once before, but that's a good few years ago. And it's good to come out here again and just enjoy the Peak District in the autumn. So again, thank you for watching, and may God bless you and keep you.